It's one of the most disturbing international stories in recent years. Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi dismembered alive and beheaded minutes after entering the Saudi consulate in Turkey, according to audio recordings described by Turkish officials. So you'd think U.S. leaders would be reacting with at least some alarm, but here's the general message we've gotten so far.
I just spoke with the King of Saudi Arabia, who denies any knowledge of what took place. His denial to me could not have been stronger, that he had no knowledge, and it sounded like he and also the Crown Prince had no knowledge.
You mean the same Crown Prince whose close aide was reportedly shown walking into the consulate just hours before Khashoggi up and vanished, and this same one whose Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was getting all warm and cozy with during a Mideast trip earlier this week, after which he made these statements.
I don't want to talk about any of the facts. They didn't want to either, in that they want to have the opportunity to complete this investigation in a thorough way. We ought to give them a few more days to complete that, so that we, too, have a complete understanding of the facts surrounding that.
Yes, we should definitely let the Saudis investigate the murders they are accused of orchestrating, and then they can let us know what they find. My guess is it'll be something along the lines of no collusion, but we can wait and see. Wait, why are we waiting again?
I do think it's important that everyone keep in their mind that we have lots of important relationships, financial relationships between U.S. and Saudi companies.
Joining me to discuss the impact of Trump's hesitation, let's call it, are Martha Coakley, former State Attorney General. Martha, nice to see you.
Hi,
She's now a partner at Foley Hoag. And Joe Malone, former State Treasurer. Hey, Joe, good to see you.
Good to see you, Joe.
Joe, Crown Prince, you saw that video, credibly accused of involvement in the murder of this journalist. And we have the Secretary of State sitting there smiling, laughing, apparently talking about jet lag. I said on the radio today that regardless of one's politics, every fair-minded American was troubled by that video. Were you troubled by it?
My sense is that this is all about Iran, and you have a coalition over in the Middle East that's trying to keep Iran, the greatest exporter of terrorism on the face of the earth, in check. Now, does the administration believe that this was a horrendous act and that there has to be some retribution? Absolutely. Now, what that is...
Would Colin Powell have been sitting there laughing? With the Crown Prince who probably orchestrated this whole thing? I'm not saying there's not a backstory that matters.
It's horrible. They're trying to figure out a way in which you don't give Iran the upper hand in this situation because...
And you do it by laughing and talking about jet lag with the Crown Prince who's apparently behind this?
No, I think it's a case of Pompeo, who is a diplomat, not wanting to go there and totally blowing the relationship, but at the same time, behind closed doors, saying, what the hell are you people doing? This is bizarre. This is crazy.
You know, a lot of people believe what Joe does with foreign policy expertise, that this country makes Faustian bargains all the time. The difference is people like Secretary Pompeo and the President are much more open about it and say, we do have strategic interests, we do have weapons sales, we do have Iran. So as distasteful as that video may have been to people like me, that backstory that Joe described may be the justification for the delay, no?
Except there's more to it than that. We've seen this reality TV show before. When Putin was asked if Russia mingled in our elections, Trump said, well, he denied it strongly. That's his favorite, adverb.
Why would he? Until the next day when he said, I meant, why wouldn't he?
Well, exactly. But on this one, Nancy Drew could solve this one, right? And there's the emoluments issue here. It's not just the United States and whatever interests we have. We haven't been paid for that military contract, by the way. But there's a personal reason why this president and his son-in-law want to keep the Saudis happy.
You may not like that comment, but I was reading today the Saudis bought Trump's money-losing Plaza Hotel for, I think, $320 million. They buy his yacht when he's in business trouble for $20 million. They buy a whole floor on some Trump building across from the UN. It's not implausible to say it's not U.S. foreign policy, but Trump business policy that's caused this rather unsettling delay in taking a strong stand.
I think it's a real reach. First of all, those transactions took place before the president was in office. But secondly, you look at a group like the Carlyle Group. They raised from these sovereign funds over in Saudi Arabia tons of money. And those are Democrats, Republicans, they're former high-ranking officials
None
like
of them are
James
president,
Baker.
are they?
No, but they all have influence, and they all have the ears of U.S. senators and congressmen and so forth. My point is this. Donald Trump, this is his worst nightmare right now. He doesn't want this. He wanted a Saudi Arabia that could align with the U.S. to keep Iran at bay, also buy our products so that it's good for our business. They blow the whole thing up, and he has to do something, because if he doesn't do something, Congress will.
Does it concern you? It seems the video may not have trouble. Does it trouble you that a young man with no foreign policy experience, except the business things I mentioned, has been our point person with the Crown Prince, has been our point person on Israeli-Palestinian relations, our point person on... Isn't it clear now that Jared Kushner has absolutely no idea what he is doing?
So Nikki Haley, who stood nothing to gain because she's
Said
on
he's
her
a
way out,
genius.
she called him a genius. So,
Okay.
I can only go by what other people say.
The thing I don't... Go ahead.
There's
I'm
a
sorry.
selective presumptive of innocence here. We've also seen before. Oh, we have to wait. We have to do this investigation. Except when it comes to Hillary Clinton. Let's lock her up.
I want to talk about whether, regardless of where you are on the political spectrum here, vis-a-vis Trump, whether he has to do something. His new BFF, Lindsey Graham, is saying we got to get rid of the Crown Prince. And then John Kennedy, not exactly a radical, a Republican from Louisiana. Here's what Senator Kennedy had to say.
I don't think he fell through a hole in the space-time continuum. I think he's dead. And I think the Saudis killed him. With the exception of Israel, I trust every country in the Middle East as much as I trust gas station sushi.
You know, even if Joe Malone is totally right about why they're acting like they're acting, Trump is in a corner here, is he not?
Absolutely.
When his Republicans are even painting him in that corner,
yes.
He's got to take strong action.
Totally
so
agree.
what is it? Just say to the king, dump the Crown Prince, give us somebody else? What's the strong action?
Well, first of all, they've got to resolve this and not sit by the sidelines and let the Saudis do a whitewash on it. And then they have to do sanctions. He doesn't want to pull that money, but there's other things. And I think you go to the father and say, you need a new Crown Prince.
What does Trump do here?
So I think it'll become a symbolic gesture that takes a chunk of what's the term?
Armaments?
No, that takes a chunk out of them, but they go back to normalcy. And it's not.
So you think ultimately nothing's going to be done as a
for the
result
same
of this?
reason? Why are we now talking to North Korea? Why do we keep some semblance of a relationship with the Soviet Union, China? All those places, there are horrendous things going on, but you got to keep.
I know, but this
dealing
was a
with it.
U.S. resident. He was a journalist. Even the president recognized the fact that he was a journalist.
But the president
didn't like.
did say he wasn't an American citizen.
I know that, but
Talk about callous. Can we move on for a second,
Sure,
if I can?
sure.
Associated Press, Trump did an interview with the Associated Press on Tuesday. Here's what he said in part. Here we go again with, you're guilty until proven innocent. I don't like that. We just went through that with Justice Kavanaugh, and he was innocent all the way as far as I'm concerned. I have to say, comparing the dismemberment and beheading of somebody to a confirmation hearing for a justice, to me, is otherworldly. But it gets us to the woman issue, if we can. There's Judge Kavanaugh. There's the Pocahontas language. There's that disgusting horse face reference in a tweet to Stormy Daniels the other day. When I said at the top of the show, this may be a tipping point, is it possible that women have said, I have had enough, almost across the board, and that they may be the ones that deliver a Democratic Congress to Washington?
So I've said to you from almost day one of his presidency, on decorum, he deserves a very low grade. In terms of results, with the economy, with a stronger presence worldwide, with
You're not a woman. Are women about to abandon
but
him?
you know what? But I'm sure there are other identity groups who say, oh, he's unkind to me, he's unkind to me, and women are one of them. But this is a case where he just doesn't have a filter. And whether it's tweeting or talking, he says these things. But I think the American people are saying, are we better off than we were 2 years ago? And I think the answer is a resounding yes.
Are women saying that? The most recent CNN poll I saw the other day, October 4th to 7, 2-1. While interestingly, men are pretty close. Men by a small majority, or plurality, I think, support the president. Women, 63 to 33% say they're planning to vote Democratic, which, by the way, as John King from CNN pointed out to us on the radio the other day, is almost the exact same percentage of people who disapprove of Trump. Amongst women, 63% disapprove. Women, 63% are voting for Democrats. Is that going to be what turns this tide?
I mean, I think we'll know the day after Election Day, but you can see that this has been building since when Hillary lost, when Trump was elected. and the parade that started then, I know from my colleagues and what I've seen that women are increasingly disgusted by the tenor, the actions he takes, just the total disregard he has of anybody who's not a white male.
You know, I understand partisan politics, and I don't mean to go way back, but the image that I haven't been able to get out of my mind was a couple of weeks ago when he is mocking Blasey Ford at that rally. And by the way, this is horrible to say, I wasn't even that troubled by him doing it, because that's what he does. It's disgusting. I was appalled by the men and women in huge numbers around him, laughing, applauding, that sort of thing. Well, what kind
But that's his audience. That's a number of people that...
They're still human beings.
I understand, but that's the danger of the coarseness of this president and the willingness of other people to be... Now, they may think it, but they wouldn't say it before. Now they will say it.
I want to put up a headline from the Chicago Tribune. Mueller said to be ready to deliver key findings in Trump-Russia probe. The rumor is he's pretty much done his work, and that he's going to deliver the results post-election day, post-midterms. You're a former prosecutor. Reportedly, Mueller's people have met with Manafort and Manafort's people 9 times in 4 weeks. If when you were Attorney General or the Middlesex DA, you had met 9 times in 4 weeks with somebody who had potential to flip on somebody really, what conclusion should we draw from that?
Well, once again, we go to circumstantial evidence, right?
Yeah,
the trout in the bottle of milk. It is, you know, the amount of time, the cooperation. It was clear when Manafort got convicted, didn't want to go to the second trial, that he was going to have to tell the truth. And he doesn't know what they know, what they don't. I think it bodes ill for the president.
He was at that meeting June in Trump Tower. He was the campaign manager for 5 months.
He knows all the Russia stuff.
Does this not mean the walls may be closing there, Joe Malone?
Geez, I look at someone like Alan Dershowitz who says there's no crime in that meeting taking place. Now, can he issue a report that says, you know, this was conduct that was inappropriate, but it wasn't illegal? Maybe he does. But
when you were in politics, how many times do you ever quote Alan Dershowitz?
Well, you know, he's my new hero now. He's a civil libertarian.
Before we go, if you don't mind, you're wearing something odd-looking. So, what are you wearing on
It's
your...
a jail cell, speaking of people in jail.
What is it?
It is a symbol to remind women that over 100 years ago, women marched and were put in jail to get the right to vote. And I have as a reminder to me and everybody that women need to use their vote for the midterms.
Good to see you, Martha Coakley. Joe Malone, thanks so much.
Kudos on your debate moderating.
Oh, thank you very much.
Fabulous.
Appreciate it. Very kind of you.